Bill, Woody, Sarah, Izzy, look at what the Diamondbacks are busting out this season.
All right.
The return of the bullpen carts.
Yes.
Good musical choice.
Also, the change to Selection Sunday. They're going to give us all 68 teams out large, alphabetically, before the bracket.
Yes.
Tell us how you really feel. Let's go around the horn.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Oh, it's not.
But it was so bad last year. It was so good. It was so good
It's
last
Around
year.
the Horn, the show of competitive banter. Here's Tony Reali.
We'll get to that in a bit. A 4 p.m. deadline has passed. Pittsburgh Steelers franchising Le'Veon Bell. Second year in a row, so it's $14.5 million with the next 4 months to work out a multi-year deal. Bell has said he'd contemplate retirement if tagged again. This week he said he doesn't think he'll settle for anything less than what he values himself at. National panel, there's 3 levels to value here. How Bell values himself, how the Steelers value Bell, and how the NFL values running backs in general. Bill Plaschke, I'll start with you. Whose valuation's on the money?
The Steelers are exactly. In fact, they showed it last year when they offered him a multi-year contract more than 50% higher than their next NFL running back. They offered him a guarantee, this deal. He turned it down. He didn't want it. So now he wants even more. This is a guy, if you look back, I know he's tremendous. I know he has the most first downs in football and since his career started and all this. But also since his career started in 5 years, the Steelers have scored exactly as many points per game with him as without him. He's also, after 5 years of getting beat up, he has 1 fewer yard per carry, per average per carry last season and this season. Running backs aren't worth this much in the league. He's getting exactly what he should be getting.
I'm not going to say I was down to you, Plaschke. I looked down at the research. You're exactly right. The same points per game with them and against them in his 5 years. Woody Page, who's got the valuation right here?
Oh, he's totally wrong here. He's a combination running back, wide receiver. When you were reading those notes, you should have realized that he also had 80 receptions last year. I mean, they're paying those diva wide receivers $13 and $14 million. Demaryius Thomas here, and Des Bryant, and Antonio Brown. And running backs are just as important, if not more so, because they're getting 20 touches a game, a wide receiver maybe 6. You're telling me that he doesn't deserve to get paid? The guy has rushed for more yards per game than anybody in the history of the game who's played more than 30 games. I mean, as I said, when you combine his reception yardage and his rushing yardage, I mean, it's incredible what he's accomplished. I think a guy's worth $42 million over 3 years. That would be $14 million a year. He last year said, I think I'm worth at least $13 million. So there.
Sarah Spain.
Yeah, I think Woody's onto something. He had more catches last year than Gronk and Kelsey and these guys that we hear so much about, in addition to having the most average yards per scrimmage per game in the history of the NFL. He has more first downs than anyone since he entered the league. Touches, attempts, I mean, this guy is doing it all. And listen, if you want to argue that every single person at the same position falls within the same ceiling and floor, then I think you're doing a disservice to guys like him that are doing it differently. You don't need 3 different backs because he can block for you. He can catch, he can pass, or not pass. He can catch passes and he can run. So if he can do all of that and you don't need 3 different guys to do it, then you can really change things up when he's out on the field. They don't know what to expect. That should be validated, and I think he should get what he values himself at.
Okay, so here's where we are. We had that great stat from Plaschke that the Steelers have the same points per game with or without him. And then we had about 17 statistics from Woody and Sarah Spain about how he ranks among the greatest running backs of all time in yards per game and touches. So now we turn to Israel Gutierrez.
Yeah, it's difficult to just label him a running back, but it's also difficult to sort of put him in that group of running backs who have a short career, right? Because the best of the best do more than just that. Like everybody mentioned, he was top 10 in the league in receptions, 85 for his team, second on his team. Okay, that's a combination player. He could probably be utilized even better or protect Ben Roethlisberger even more if they use him more on play action, which they use the least amount of any team in the league, less than 10% last year. So maybe Le'Veon Bell's valuation of himself is absolutely correct, and the rest of the organization, the NFL, and these people who are saying differently are absolutely wrong. This guy is fantastic. He's probably the most important player on that team, and more so, he's a guy who I think would actually retire. When you look at running backs who take a beating all the time,
you think he
and the
would?
head injuries that have been explored, that have been talked about lately, I think he would absolutely do that if he doesn't get the long-term security.
I want to flesh out something you just said there, Israel, and I thought this tweet from Aditi Kinkhabwala of the NFL Network was illuminating. and she got into the crux of Le'Veon Bell's argument. Why running backs of Bell's caliber are worth less than a wide receiver. Why running backs have been so commoditized as to not be recognized as unique talents. So I'll ask you, Bill Plaschke, do you think the NFL is unfair to superstar running backs?
No, they're totally fair because they get hit. All this talk about how many balls he catches, he gets hit more than a wide receiver. And you look, it's been 20 years since the running back won the Super Bowl MVP. They wear down by the end of the season. Look at the Eagles running backs. They made $2 million last year. You use more than one running back. They get hit. It's just a part of the game.
Everybody wants in on what Plaschke just said. Paige, first to you.
Well, look at Elliott and the Dallas Cowboys last year. Without him, they had no running game, and their quarterback wasn't the same player. I think if you pay those running backs exactly what they're worth, and they're worth more than wide receivers.
Sarah Spain?
Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks went down this year. A lot of wide receivers. Gronk gets hit all the time. To argue that the argument is just that because of the position taking a lot of hits, then that means Odell Beckham Jr. had fewer catches than he did by 1 million last year because he wasn't out on the field and he's a wide receiver. You're going to get hurt playing football. You can't make your decisions based on that.
And one last word or shake of a head from Israel. You look very disapproving.
The best
right
of the best also find a way to not get hit as hard. Saquon Barkley, by the way, might be the first overall pick in the draft. Why? Because he's a fantastic running back that can change a team.
Every running back, guys. Every running back is happens to. They all get hit more than anybody.
We've been home. We're going to move on. Here's a conversation that's never been had before in the history of the NFL. You ready? The Super Bowl winning quarterback is available via trade. Report today from Chris Mortensen is that the Eagles say it's going to take more than a first and a fourth round pick, though, to get Nick Foles. I'll start with you, Woody Page. Is Philly approaching this the right way? And can you see any team going bigger than a 1 and a 4?
From Philadelphia, I reach out and try to get it as much as I possibly can for him because you're probably going to need him, and nobody's going to pay you a first and a fourth. You're going to need him because Wentz, with that ACL and another injury to the knee, is probably not going to be back to October. Who are you going to start the season with? You're going to have to go out and find another quarterback. I think a first and a fourth, he's not worth that if you want a quarterback really well. I think you could go. They don't have a second and a third. That's what I would give up and say to them, I'll replace your missing second and third. And if they were going to take it, they would take that.
Let's break this up first and foremost. Eagles, are they valuing this right, Sarah Spain? A first and a 4, and they could entertain trading Nick Foles or more than that?
Yes, absolutely, because that's what they got for Sam Bradford, who isn't a Super Bowl MVP winning quarterback who had a Pro Bowl year back then and then was put back in a good system and succeeded again. I absolutely think that this is what they should do because as teams get more desperate when there's an injury like the one that happened that caused the Sam Bradford trade, they're going to get even more for him. There's no need for them to rush.
Israel?
Well, the difference here is this is happening during the offseason. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater and that Sam Bradford situation was a little bit different. But I do think, like Sarah said, that their teams will justify this cost. Like maybe the teams that don't get Kirk Cousins end up saying, man, who do I need for a quarterback? Let me go ahead and give them what they want. But if I'm the Eagles, I think Woody's right as well. Like you have to value him not just as a great quarterback option, but as the guy who might even start your season if Carson Wentz is not entirely healthy. It could be like a Robert Griffin situation where it could be long-term situation for Carson Wentz. And if you've got Nick Foles there, I definitely wouldn't give him up for anything less than a first.
Wait, you're worried about the long-term health of Carson Wentz then here? That's what
I'm saying that the Eagles are so set up to succeed for a long time that you need to make sure that Carson Wentz is fine 100%, even if that takes, I don't know, half of next season. And Nick Foles is obviously
provides
the best option
the insurance policies we just saw play out. Okay, Plaschke, how about you?
I don't think you ought to trade him at all. I don't think you all should entertain any offers. Wentz, it could take, what do you say, he's back in October. It'll probably be till December before he's full. It's a full year before he's fully recovered. They need this guy, Super Bowl MVP. They're going to use him perhaps even most of the season. So why would they do that? Why would they trade him for anything? Coming off, what would that do to the locker room? What would that do to the fan base? I wouldn't trade him for anything.
Valuation has been the buzzword of this show so far. It's like we're on Shark Tank or something. But let me ask you this. What we just saw play out in the NFL season, we saw Nick Foles win the Super Bowl MVP, and even in the conference title games, 3 of those 4 quarterbacks, Case Keenum, Blake Bortles, should the NFL be adjusting how they value quarterbacks, Israel?
Well, we've been saying that for a long time, right? And then look at all these contracts being thrown out there. Look at the price they're putting on Nick Foles. And look what they're saying about running backs like Le'Veon Bell. You're not really worth what you think. I feel like every team gets scared if they don't have a quarterback and they just sort of overpay, and we're just sort of overvaluing them again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Speaking of quarterbacks who may get some overpay, let's talk about Kirk Cousins, all right? You guys ready? Brace yourselves. We have an idea who the final 4 teams in the sweepstakes might be. Jets, Vikings, Cardinals, and your Broncos, Woody Page. Sarah, which team has to make the bigger play for Cousins? And would Cousins be wiser to sign with one over another?
Which team needs him the most? I guess it would be the Jets. They need a quarterback, and they need a name that people can get excited about, and they need one piece of many. But I think Cousins is absolutely going to go to the Vikings. It's the best option for him to win right away. It's the best option for him to play well, succeed, and then get another big contract after this one. And he gets that reciprocity tax where he gets to pay about 5% less income tax on his house back in Michigan instead of paying the income tax in Minnesota. So win, win, win.
Whoa,
like it to me.
I'll take your word for that one. And by the way, you can do my taxes after the show. Thanks for all that information. Israel Gutierrez, how about you?
Turbo tax.
I agree. I do think that Minnesota is the best fit for him. They are the best defense that can, in combination with him and the offensive talent that can win right away, obviously. I do think, though, he's just simply going to go to the team that has the best contract, the most amount of money, and the most security for him because he's talked about sort of setting the bar for other quarterback contracts, and that would do so.
Flashy.
Woody, I got to ask you, Woody, don't you think you should just go to Denver? Denver seems like the obvious place for me with Elway there. I know they have trouble paying him, but their defense is still great. They're in the right conference, the right division for him. He can win in Denver. Woody, I think you should go to Denver. I'm sure you agree with me.
Flashy's now piloting here and asking you a question, Woody. Can you describe where the Broncos are in this deal?
Well, they certainly are interested in him, and people have kind of dismissed them. And Bill even said they don't have the money to pay him. Of course they do. When you add the $10 million that's added to the salary cap, they've got $10 million left from last year, $26 million that's available, and they get rid of Aqib Talib. That's another $11 million. They have more than enough money to pay him. I think that he will, out of respect for John Elway, who he idolized as a kid, come here. I think that not only should Peyton Manning help recruit him, but Mike Shanahan's here, who coached him and drafted him. I think this is a great place for him with that defense and with a team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I think he's going to Minnesota.
All right. Good question, Bill.
Well, after all that, you think he's going to Minnesota?
Woody.
All right.
Well,
I don't know. What I learned from this segment is that Woody Page and Sarah Spain should be doing all of our taxes. Although I take that back immediately. Woody, you're not touching my taxes. Take a break right here. Buy or sells next in 2 minutes. What are those? Woody says when I say taxes. Taxes.
Yeah.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick, Miss Lydia.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Buy or sell.
They are right there in Los Angeles. Lillard a three, right down there.
Damian Lillard was on fire last night, single-handedly bringing the Blazers back to beat the Lakers. You were there, Plashke, right?
I was there.
So you missed Kevin Calabro, who was just incredible on the microphone. I'll argue he was as impressive as Lillard. Portland has won 7 straight, currently the 3 seed in the West. Look at the standings. Everybody in the top 10 in the West, with the exception of San Antonio and Minnesota, who got injuries, are on a tear. What do you buy from it all, Bill?
I'm not buying a whole lot. Outside of the Rockets and the Warriors, the other teams, at the very least, are 11.5 games worse than them in the standings. As well as they're playing against each other, they're not in the same class. It's still a two-team race.
Say the Blazers are the best of the bunch, having seen them last night?
Oh, yeah, they're the hottest of the bunch, but I think it could be anybody. I think Minnesota could end up being there.
Woody, how about you?
Yes, I'm with Bill. They're all with victories about 11 or 12 behind those top 2 teams. But more importantly, most of them are 500 teams at best or worst on the road. So I don't know how in the world they're going to actually match those two who are going to win 60 games and more than half their games at home.
Sarah Spain?
Yeah, all credit to their recent run because they've beaten the Thunder and the T-Wolves and the Warriors. So it's not been like it's a stretch of bad teams. They're doing some great winning. But it doesn't matter when you're 12 games back at the 2 teams that matter. Okay,
nobody's asking if they're better than the Warriors or the Rockets.
It's a 2-team race. It doesn't teach me anything. There's a lot of great teams
here is,
in the middle
are the Blazers
playing
the
well.
best of the bunch? That's Israel. Answer that one.
No, I don't think they're the best of the bunch. I think all this creates intrigue, though. I mean, look, not only the Blazers, are they that good? Could they give one of those two teams a run? Will Anthony Davis finally get a good seeding, maybe make a playoff run? Will the Spurs, who've won like 61% of their games for 20 years in a row, not make the playoffs? All of it is super intriguing, but if we focus on Houston and Golden State, we'll miss all the good stuff happening right.
Have you ever seen a year where the 3 seed is 2 games
Houston
in front of the 9 seed right now? I mean,
that is
2
the
games
good
in the loss
stuff.
column. All right, we'll move on. Buy or sell 2. There's a change to Selection Sunday, reportedly. So listen up. This is going to affect your viewing experience on TBS. Instead of the East region, West region, South region, Nether region reveal, they're planning on first announcing all 68 teams who make the field, with the at-larges being revealed in alphabetical order. And then they're going to get to the bracket and the seedings. Woody, buy or sell that plan?
It's like my microwave oven. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It works well. Why in the world? I like that you spend 30 minutes concentrating on one of the regions. And once you get through that, you can figure that out, then you go to the next region. You go through 68 teams. How in the world is anybody going to keep up with how they're actually being seeded? It makes no sense.
Well, I, for one, am excited about the addition of the Nether regions. I hadn't heard about that until you just announced it. But I think the alphabetical thing is so stupid. That takes away the whole point of having 2 separate reveals. If you reveal all the teams first, you start with the obvious ones, and at the end you get to the bubbles. You get to see them react. Whoa, they're so excited that they're in. Then you go through the second time and you say who they're facing, which is like, whoa, now let's see if they're excited about who they're playing. Instead, we're just doing alphabetical? That doesn't make any sense.
Israel Gutierrez?
I do understand the idea of keeping more eyes glued to the TV for longer. There are some teams that just want to know if they got in, and really it doesn't matter who they face because they're probably going to lose. There are teams who want to know just that, who they're going to play, because they already know they're getting in. But when you change things up, I mean, remember when they changed One Shining Moment and everybody was in an uproar and they had to switch it back? I think people like it the same, and this isn't enough of an important change to really make it.
Plastic.
What do you say? If it's not broke, don't fix it? It's broke. It's the lowest ratings ever last year. Fewer and fewer people are watching. It's a boring, boring show. Let's try to spice it up. And just like Sarah said, at least have 2 areas of drama. First drama, who gets in. Then second drama, who plays who. Tony obviously doesn't agree with me, but I think it's a good
I don't agree with you, but that's all right. I mean, your job is to kind of prove your opinion and why it might be right. I'm not the alphabetical order. I mean, at that point, what are we even doing? There's no drama in the alphabet, is there?
Xavier! It's Xavier!
Exactly. Yeah. All right, we're going to move on. Buy or sell 3, the return of the bullpen golf cart. Whether this is about time of game or just pimp and ride, Sarah, buy or sell?
I have no idea that this existed. I don't remember this from being a kid, and I am super pumped.
You don't?
Not only do I want to see it on the field, I want to take one home with me.
Okay, all right. Israel, how about you?
I absolutely love it. My only question is, are they going to be able to ride that thing in when they come in for fights? Kind of like Mad Max style, hanging off the back and say, whoa, let's get in there. That's going to be interesting.
Terrible idea. I don't think the players are going to use it. I don't think even the Diamondbacks players are going to get in. And players, now it's a thing to stalk in out of the bullpen. You get yourself loose. You get your head right. Players are used to that. They won't ride it. It's silly.
Bill, it worked for 25 years, and you suddenly say, oh, the players love to ride in. In fact, they'd probably like to have golf cart races in the 7th inning. And I think maybe you switch it up. Bring them in on a horse one time. Bring them in
on a horse?
On a motor scooter or Segway.
Please, give us a horn before Woody gets some more ideas here. All right.
Livestock.
Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt. Go Plasky. Israel Gutierrez. Plasky Gutierrez showdown. Lance Stevenson last night. Trash talking with Jason Terry. Mutombo fingering at Giannis. And he did trip John Henson in the middle of this game as well. Pacers won it. You giving them credit for the win? And how high on the Lance-o-meter, Plasky?
Give him credit for the win, and this is at the very top because they won and because he had the foresight to look between the legs of Giannis when he missed that shot and do the finger wag. It was brilliant, Lance.
All the other stuff was cool, classic Lance. The tripping of John Henson was complete Bush League, so he gets negative points for that. It's kind of tricky, though, the Indiana Pacers. Nobody's really paying attention to them. They're having a really good season, and Lance can do that because nobody's really paying attention to them.
Yeah, it's true. Point for each, because the foresight to look between the legs was just marvelous, Plasky. We'll move on. I could watch the Marcus Smart flip all day. He's known for flopping. Some would say he flopped before the flip. Does the flip the flop and make him famously a flipper than a flopper, Israel?
No, I don't know what you just asked me, but I do know that if you're strong enough to jump up and do the ninja flip off the floor, which he said he wasn't even trying to do, then you're plenty strong enough to stay up when you get nudged by an elbow.
No, I'm not going to flip-flop on this. It was the flipping, not the flopping, and the flapping when he got up. It was unbelievable. I can barely get out of bed in the morning and to see him do something like that. Oh, my goodness.
It's a good point, though. If you're agile enough to get up off the floor from that, you probably shouldn't have been down to begin with. Point. Gutierrez. NFL news, Ed Hockley retiring from the league. Flashkey, where do refs go? Where does Ed Hockley go when he retires?
He's known for one thing, and that's his biceps, his appearance. He needs to go to WWE and follow Ronda Rousey, who's also known for one thing, and get in there and fight in the ring in WWE. That's perfect for him, the fighting ref.
As the only panelist who both gets mocked for wearing tight shirts and bulging biceps and tends to explain things with too many words and a little bit confusing, I say Ed Hockley comes down to Miami. We do a sports show together. Forget all that other stuff. We can wear whatever we want.
He mentions his biceps. I lose.
He had a multi-graph retirement announcement. A multiple graph retirement announcement. I love that. Point game FaceTime. Israel Gutierrez.
Thank you, Tony. I wanted to mention Kevin Love recently revealing, on the heels of DeMar DeRozan revealing his battle with depression, Kevin Love revealing that he's had a couple of panic attacks recently, one of them against Atlanta, one of them in a game against Oklahoma City. And as somebody who's had somebody very close to them a couple of times have panic attacks right in front of them, I can tell you they're scary, they're very real, and what people don't know about them is just that they're very real, because it's hard to understand. But having watched people go through that, I'm so glad Kevin Love said something. That way more people can just have this discussion, realize what we're talking about here, and deal with these mental health issues, whether it be something like depression, which more people understand, or something like these panic attacks.
Real as a broken hand, as real as a sprained ankle. That's what Kevin Love writes. Thank you.
Very good, Izzy.